Hello and welcome to another episode of Pitbulls, Parolees, and a Producer. My name is Billy Cooper. I am the executive producer and showrunner for Pitbulls and Parolees. Joining me as always is Miss Tia Torres, owner-operator of Villalobos Rescue Center and longtime reluctant participant in Pitbulls and Parolees.
Now I'm reluctant.
Now, weren't you reluctant? You were reluctant. Like, was there a time that you were not?
Yeah,
reluctant?
I was reluctant. I just did it for money because I just needed the money. But yeah.
I mean, that is the thing that we always told everybody when we would hire, because obviously we would hire producers, because everyone always, you'd hire producers. And one of the things that, like, as a producer, you have your bag of tricks that you can use to help, entice the talent, the people that you're working with on camera to do what they need to do. And, a lot of people that would come in and say, I would ask them, and say, what would you do if, you'd have somebody who's not willing to do what they're supposed to do? Oh, well, I'll remind them that, this is their opportunity to be famous and be on TV and whatever. And I was like, next, what else you got? That ain't working.
She ain't going to fall for that one.
She don't give a crap about none of that crap. So come up with something else. Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that was like a warning when you were interviewing new people.
Oh, when we would interview, I mean, Candace Candace chime in if you want.
Yeah.
Candace, Candace, jump in. Jump on. Turn your camera on, Candace. Pick a camera.
Yes. I want to hear what were some of the
okay. Generally, when we would interview potential producers and staff for the show, I would say most interviews last about an hour. When you're interviewing somebody, about an hour, just whatever, out of courtesy. I would say 45 minutes we would spend trying to scare these people away.
Jesus.
Candace, do you agree?
Mine wasn't that bad. They did ask a lot of, like, what's the most difficult cast situations you've worked on? And, like, what has been your hardest days on set? And how would you handle like somebody yelling at you and all of that?
No. These are the questions. These are the questions we ask people. These are the questions we would ask potential producers.
Because I yell? Is that why you got asked that?
Yeah. I mean, you're not it's not a yeller. You're not getting yelled at. You're getting yelled around.
What a nice way to say that. What a nice way to say that I'm a bitch.
No, I mean, okay. We famously, and I will not name names. Okay. I don't know have I told this story on the podcast yet?
I don't know, but it sounds juicy already. So spill the beans.
The story of the shortest producer stint on the show.
I already know who it is. I love this story.
Well, I'm not going to name names because that's not nice, and that's not what.
If I remembered his name, I would totally throw him under the bus. But I forgot his name. So go ahead.
Good, fine. This was pre-Candace. This was before Candace's time. Right around season 4, season 5, when we had moved the show to New Orleans, and you had moved to New Orleans. And the way things went, at least in my world, my job, so everybody understands, my job, I would sort of move between both Los Angeles and where we would do all the editing and New Orleans where we would do all the shooting, and I would sort of jump back and forth. And every season we would hire somebody who their title was co-executive producer, which actually is Candace's title now. And their job was basically to run the field, to sort of oversee the staff, oversee the producers, work with you guys, talk to you direct, be your direct contact. I mean, obviously, for the most part, anytime there was anything to talk to, you pick up the phone, you call me, and then I would have to disseminate it and whatever. But so the producer that we had hired, we had faith. We and every season we would start the season. Rasha, who's been on the show, the owner of 44 Blue, he and I would fly out to New Orleans. We have our big staff meeting. We have our launch meeting. We have, sort of go over everything. Rasha would leave, and then we would, I would stay for a day or two of shooting. In this case in particular, we were still finishing this previous season right as we started the next season. So I had to get back to LA the day we started shooting. So it was one of those things where I didn't have time to sort of be around. And what ultimately happened was, I think I stuck around for the morning. We'd filmed a couple of things, and I said, okay, I'm out. I think we'd filmed a meet and greet, and I said, okay, I'm out. I gotta go. Gotta get to the airport, my flight. And this producer said, okay, dude, you're in charge. Have at it. And the ride from the Claiborne warehouse to the airport is about 45 minutes on a bad day. Generally, we had a taxi driver in the early days who could do it in 20. He would drive the wheels off his cab. It was scary. Right. Anyway, so so in the 45 minutes from the time it took me to leave Claiborne to the time I got to the airport and sat down at the airport bar and ordered a beer, I think there was an email from you, "Get this motherfucker out of my warehouse."
I remember. Now,
do you remember what he did? I'll let you tell that part of the story.
Yes.
Okay, what did he do?
And if I leave something out, remind me.
Sure.
So we were filming up in the office.
Correct.
Upstairs.
Yes.
And we had like an office dog. I forgot which one it was. We had an office dog.
Might have been Brandy with an I at the time.
Yeah, I don't remember. Okay. Anyways, he said, yeah. I don't want any dogs in this scene. And I'm like, wait, what? This is not like a movie. We're not props here. This is like, our dogs are not props. And I said, no, she lives here. She lives in this office. Like, she's part of what we do.
Yeah.
And he says, well, I don't want a dog in this scene. And I'm like, I think I made some like slight remark, like, what are you, Steven Spielberg or something, dude? Like, no, you don't get to set the scene up. This is the way we roll. This is like real life. And this show's about dogs. What do you mean you want a dog in the scene? And I said this to him. And he walked out of the office, and we love our audio guys because they rat everybody out. Throughout all the years of Pickles and Parolees, they have gotten so many people in trouble.
That's true.
And was it Scott or Wally? I can't remember which one it was. I think it might have been Scott again.
I think it was Scott at the time.
Yeah. He's like, come here. And he told me that, or maybe it might have been even Kevin, the camera guy, or one of the camera guys. I think it might have been, I think Kevin was there too.
Yeah.
Anyways, they were telling me, because they can hear him on his little, what do you call those little mic, the little things they have when you guys talk to each other?
Yeah, no, because we have, so the producers all have, so you're wearing.
Yeah, but they're like in your ear though. They're not like the ones you carry around.
Well, the IFB, we have earpieces that hear what you guys are saying on your microphones, but then we have walkie-talkies in the other ear where we can talk to each other. So
anyways, I don't know the exact words he was saying, but they're like, he is talking so much shit about you right now, Tia. I'm like, wait, what? And they're like, yeah, like massive shit. I remember going out there and I opened the door. I said, you get the fuck out of here. I just dropped so many F-bombs. Yeah. I think I might even have told him I was going to turn Lucky loose on him. Like I was going to push him down the stairs. Like, who the fuck you think you are coming here? You've been here for 2 fucking minutes.
Yeah.
And that's how it ended.
Well, that's where it ended for you.
Yeah.
I then had to fly back to Los Angeles, and the next day go into Rosh's office and say, we kind of have a problem.
Yeah, well, I remember the guy, they told me he went into the production office, was like, I want out of here. I want out of here.
No. He didn't want to leave. No, I had to.
That's what I was told by the producers that he wanted to leave.
He went home that day. And then he.
Oh, maybe that's what it was.
He went home that night. He was done for the day. But then the next morning, I had to get on the phone and fire him from afar.
Did he miss the memo when I was talking to him, or what?
That was my very first week on set.
Oh, was it?
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh, damn.
You didn't get traumatized? I'm sorry, Candy.
Well, I'm still here. It's like 8 years later now, so.
Oh my God. Yeah, he was. And I am harsh, but I get along with everybody, and I think I do.
You do. So, no, I think, Tia, the thing that you, we joke that you love to hate you love the crew.
Yeah.
And you love to hate the producers.
Yes.
But again, and that's what we always say. Bye, Candace.
Come out of here.
And that's what we always say. We say it to the producers is, listen, the thing with Tia is, the anger or the yelling or the whatever the frustration that you're getting from her is it sometimes is related to you, but a lot of times it's related to other things going on that you have no control over. So the ideal way to deal with it is just to ride it out and try to move on. And if you did something wrong, own up to it, apologize, and try and move past it. Because we've all done shit wrong time and time again. And every time we do something wrong, we do apologize. I think and we are able to move past it. So
he was such a piece of shit. He was such a piece of shit. And you are so lucky you're not telling me his name, because I would fucking say it right now. He was such
I'm not going to do that.
Horrible human being.
It was not pretty.
And I'm downplaying the way he was acting.
No, I know.
He was he was so like snobby, just like he thought he was, like I said, like some Steven Spielberg.
He did. And it's funny because we try very hard to make people understand after all these years when we're going into producing the show. We try really hard to make them understand the situation that they're getting themselves into. It is not like any other show you've ever produced. We don't have second takes. We don't get to redo things. We don't get to tell the cast what to say, what to do, where to be, when to go. It's like we have to sit around and wait for something to happen. And if the waiting, there's this, the waiting is the hardest part, the Tom Petty song. That's this show. Making this show, you wait for something to happen, but when it does happen, it's going to be good, and you better be ready.
Yeah. Ooh, man. Yeah. What a crappy human. I think only him and one other producer I had a problem with.
Yes.
We'll talk about it in another episode.
Yes. No, we'll get to him later.
Yeah. But that's it. After all these years, I think that's pretty much it.
Yes. So the matter at hand here, let's get to the episode that we're talking about today. For those of you listening at home, watching at home, we are talking about the 7th episode of season 2. If you have not seen this episode, what is wrong with you, first and foremost?
I don't remember. Does that count?
Well, you've seen, you may not remember it to you, but you've seen it.
Yeah.
So, so please go head over to Discovery Plus and stream it and check it out and come on back, listen to the podcast, and you'll understand what we're talking about. Actually, what you heard before this, you'll get it, but now from here forward, you need to know. Anyway, so we are still sponsorless. I am not going sponsorless. I am not going to give a shout out to a sponsor that will not help us. But when they do, I will, be very happy about it. But anyway,
bugs. I was just swatting bugs.
Okay. The title of this episode, with our episode statistics, was called Breaking Point. Originally aired December 11th of 2010. Okay, so here we go. This is the episode description as seen on the TV guide at the time, and as read by me, sometimes not as good as I'd like to. Anyway, on a mission to find one of Villalobos' most unique dogs, Creature, a new home, Tia and parolee Jake head down to the Orange County Pet Expo. While the initial meeting goes well, the adopter backs out, forcing Jake and Tia to hit the streets to find Creature a new home. Meanwhile, tempers flare among the parolees when Tia discovers that Billy isn't pulling his weight. At first, Tia lets the parolees try to get Billy back on track themselves, but after things go from bad to worse, it's up to Tia to make things right. Remember earlier?
Fixer.
Well, remember earlier when I said you need to go watch the episode before you need to? We talked. You don't need to watch the episode. Just listen to me read this thing.
Yeah, and I got some good behind the cameras.
Gossip
on this. Oh yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, here. All right. Here we go. Let's get into it. Which story you want to dish on first? Creature, Billy. Okay. And I got a good Billy story too, and not me, Billy.
Do you really? Oh, I didn't know that one. I bet you yours won't beat mine.
No, but you go ahead.
Well, I'll let you go ahead first because I want to be the big climax at the end.
Okay. Well, my Billy story is more recent. Within the last 3 years, 4 years. It's got to be 3-4 years because it was at the time when 44 Blue still had an office. So before we were working, before COVID,
So Billy has always been an on again, off again employee of ours. Okay.
Yep.
He fell off the rails, and we would get him back, whatever. And he was the kind of guy that he was like Schlep Rock on the Flintstones. It was just like, God, he had like this gloom and doom. Like the more he tried to make things work, the more he screwed up. And it was just like stupid, like no common sense. One of the things that he was most known for was his vehicles.
Oh, yeah.
They were constantly breaking down, and he would buy like a hoopty, like some cheap little car, and it would break down. Well, he made our property his car graveyard. We had like 20 acres there, so he was Billy's cars everywhere. So he finally got this little red car from his grandma. And he was so excited, so proud of it. And it was right around Christmas time. And I remember him leaving the property. He, was all happy. It was a nice day. And he goes on down our dirt road. Okay. Well, within a few minutes of him leaving, we see smoke like billowing into the sky. And I'm like, for us, like, fire! We were so like PTSD from fire.
Right, sure.
So I'm thinking, oh my God, we're having another fire. So I took off down the road to see where the fire was at. It was Billy's car. He's standing outside the car like, oh my God. He's crying, like hysterical. And he's like, all the Christmas presents I got, they're all in the back seat. Oh my God, and my jacket. And he's all crying, upset about his things, his belongings. So the fire department showed up and they managed to get the fire out. But because it only burned up like the back end of the car. I don't even know what caught on fire, to tell you the truth. I don't remember. So, of course, I call the twins. They come down with their truck and they pull it up the road and add it to the rest of the graveyard.
Right.
Car graveyard.
Sure.
So I had to leave the next day to go somewhere. I don't remember where I was at. I think an animal shelter. And I come back to the ranch and Billy is in hysterics, like upset. I can't find my grandma's car. I said, what do you mean you can't find it? The twins pulled it up here. It was here last night. It's gone. I can't find it. And he's just like ranting and raving about his car. So I go out. I said, where do we put it? Where was it? And he shows me, it was just right here. And I'm looking at the spot. Well, the first thing I notice is that the dirt looks disturbed.
Okay. And
I'm like, because it's desert. So the desert is like flat ground,
right.
hard. But this was like soft dirt, disturbed. And I'm like, what the hell? So I go find the twins and I said, what happened to Billy's car? It's gone. And of course, nothing. I don't know, nothing. So after probing and interrogating, at the exact same time, they both point to each other. Kanani did it. Mo did it. What? What did you guys do? And they said, we gave his car a proper burial.
Oh, God.
To give you the cliff notes, they took their
that can mean, by the way, in the twins world, that can mean so many things.
I know. So they took their tractor. They had a really big tractor at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And they kind of did like monster truck. They drove over the top of the car and smashed it down with the bucket of the tractor and made it like a pancake.
Oh, God.
Then they dug a hole with the tractor and then they shoved the car in there and they buried it because they said they were tired of Billy leaving his cars all over the property.
That's amazing.
Yep. Oh, I have twin stories for days. But that would be the one pertaining to Billy.
Well, okay, so my two Billy stories, one's obviously not as good, but one on brand for Billy. So when you moved the rescue when you moved to Tehachapi, or when you're in the process of moving to Tehachapi, Billy, for a while, was like the sort of guy that just stayed up there because he had nothing else to do and no place else to go, right?
Right.
And I remember we were up there filming, and Tehachapi was cold.
Yeah.
It was like cold.
Mm-hmm.
And we were filming a scene, and Billy was like, and he was like sitting there, and we're filming, and I said, dude, what is, we can't film it. He's like, well, I don't have a jacket.
Yeah, because I know what happened. It burned up in the fire because he told me his jacket was in the car.
Oh, okay. So you know,
for years he didn't get another jacket.
Well, he did. He got my jacket.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
I gave him my
Billy to Billy.
I lent him my jacket because it was a lend. So I thought I lent him my jacket. Very nice jacket, by the way, because we needed to film, and I was like, we only had the camera crew, and we're all the way up to Tehachapi, and like whatever. You're like, I gotta go, and I'm like, all right, Billy, here's my jacket. Let's go, film, go, do what you got to do. And that was that. By the way, back to our original. That was the extent of producer hand in television. We were able to lend a jacket. So I never, needless to say,
never got it back, did you? Never got it back. Did you?
Although I did see it 8 years later. This brings me to my second story. So, So 44. So I'm at the office, our office at 44 Blue. This is after 44 had moved into 44 had a very nice office in a tower in Burbank. You love to call it the Ivory Tower, which not ironic because the color of the building was actually ivory. So I get a call from the front desk. Billy, there's a Billy here to see you. I'm like, I'm sorry, what? It was like I was in an Abbott and Costello movie. I'm like, no. Echo. Yeah. And so I go up front, and Billy was there, wearing my jacket, with a woman, who he introduced as his girlfriend. His girlfriend had a copy of the appearance release Billy had signed to be on the show.
8 million years ago.
8 million years ago. Had just seen the episodes that Billy was featured in, one of which we're going to talk about right now, and wanted to know how come Billy hadn't gotten paid for his appearance on television.
He didn't read the contract, did he?
No.
But he got paid from being by.
Yeah, no, he got paid by you.
Yeah.
And it was just what I was like, Billy, first of all, you're still wearing my jacket. Second of all, that's not how this works. And I thank you for your time, but good day, sir, as your daughter likes to say. Yeah. So that's my Billy story.
Why did they just read the contract instead of coming all the way there? It says we're not getting paid.
No, I don't. Yeah, honestly, I don't know. I think obviously he must have fallen on tough times. Thought this is an opportunity.
He always was falling on tough times.
Collect a paycheck. I mean, so yeah, he went on his way. I mean, I was amazed because that building had hardcore security, and they had to card you in, like you had to use a card to get you in the building and get up the stairs. And how he got up the stairs, I have no clue.
With the contract. I mean, so just so other people listening understand.
Yeah.
We don't force these guys to be on TV.
No.
So if they don't want to be on TV because they think they should they should get not only paid by Villalobos, but they should get paid to be a movie star, quote unquote, then we won't film them. It's as simple as that. We won't film you. We'll blur your face out. So you're not obligated to be on the show. It's okay.
Right.
But it says in your contract that you're not going to get paid for your appearance. You will get paid by me to work for me.
Right.
And yet, Billy with the stolen jacket shows up to tell you he wants to get paid a million years later.
All right. So obviously, so in this episode in particular, Billy had started screwing up, as he clearly was apt to do. And you left it to the parolees to sort of figure it out. And it got a little out of hand.
I'm done lecturing. I'm done trying to get it through everybody's head. I'm going to leave it up to you guys to figure out what I should do to this person.
I said I'll step up right now. I know it was my kennel that was up.
Look, Billy, put it like this, dog. Since you know it's your section, fool, I want to tell her, give him another chance. You know what I mean?
And nobody wants anyone to get fired, but now he knows the seriousness of it.
Yeah.
I think if he steps up, why let him go? You know?
Do what you got to do, Billy, and if you get up, then you know what you got coming.
All right, well, let's get back to work, dog. Hey, step it up, Billy.
I mean, was that commonplace back then for you, like you to allow the parolees to police themselves? I mean, this was also at a time when there was a large group of parolees. We talked about this in season 2. There was you had like 6 guys even or more, and then you add the twins in there. It's like and the girls. It's like a dozen people sort of all working in one place.
I don't even know how I got through it. I really don't. That's probably why I started having the guys police themselves. I'm like, you know what? Figure it out. Like, just figure it out. Like, I'm too busy.
Yeah. I mean, but I think, you also had talked about that. I mean, I remember you and I having conversations about that, like prison justice, sort of like they were, they were used to that. I mean, like tell me, I mean, you have your own definition for what prison justice was.
I mean, the thing is that, don't get me wrong. I don't make anybody beat anybody up,
Right.
And we still to this day that we just kind of follow, that law of the land, it's like, well, I'll give you like an extreme example. When, 2 years ago when all the cancel culture and all that craziness was going on, and you can't say this and you can't say that, guys in prison were like going, what the fuck is going on out there? What is going on with this stuff?
Yeah.
And I'm like, I mean, so that's the thing, prison, guys in prison, it's a whole different way of doing things. And to this day, I still follow those rules and those guidelines.
And it's basically just, you guys are all in this together. You're all responsible for this shit. And if somebody's not pulling their weight, it's on you to get his shit done. So
that's what I would do. Sometimes I would let them basically, no pun intended, let them police themselves.
Right.
I mean, like I said, no one was allowed to beat each other up. Mm-hmm. But as far as getting shit done, it's like, man, you guys put the pressure on him, man. If he isn't carrying his weight, then handle it. You tell him. So, and sometimes that worked better,
Yeah. This episode also featured a rescue of a dog named Tundra that you ultimately renamed Ruby Red Slippers.
The OC shelter called me up. They got in a dog that was used in dog fighting, and I went and saw her.
Uh-huh.
She's kind of beaten up.
She was a bait dog. This was the first time bait dog. Yeah, this is the time the bait dog terminology came into play with us. So, do you remember? I mean, how long? You didn't have her very long, though, did you?
No, we did until she got a home. Yeah, she was a bulldog. She was chewed up, and she had a lot of trust issues after that.
Oh,
yeah, she did. So eventually, we ended up getting her a home, and but yeah, she was. It was pretty sad. Got her from an animal shelter.
It was Orange County. Yeah,
Orange County. And see, I can remember every dog story. But yeah, she was pretty chewed up. It was sad. It was sad.
I mean, in the bait dog thing, I mean, obviously, in the.
I mean, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. Yeah. I mean, some people, who knows if she was or not, or maybe she was a stray dog on the street and some dogs attacked her.
Right.
It's just became a common phrase, especially in the pit bull world, because of the way these dogs are treated by very unscrupulous and very mean people. So you just assume that when you get a pit bull or that type of dog in and they're chewed up, that's what happened to them. And it could be. There's just no way for us to know for sure.
Right.
But
I mean, back then it seemed more. Like back then, early, like 2010, in this era, like sort of dogfighting was still a thing.
It was. It still is. It's nothing. Yeah. Nothing's changed.
Right. I mean, just because it's not in the news anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. It's still the same.
All right. So let's talk a little bit about Creature. Creature was Creature became, I think, in the early seasons, Creature was our most famous dog.
He was.
What do you remember most? And this was the episode that sort of like started Creature's rise to fame, if you will.
Mm-hmm. People still ask about him.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, his looks.
Yeah, he was just such a unique. I mean, do you remember where Creature came? Do you remember Creature's rescue?
Yeah, him and Boss came from an animal shelter, East Valley Animal Shelter in Hollywood. Look at that. Still remember the stories. But yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he was just a nice little dog,
He's a nice little dog, like no issue. It's just like a nice dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you brought it. We showed him. You brought him down to the Orange County Pet Expo. You actually had an adopter come and meet Creature there.
My name is Salvador Gonzalez. I'm here at the Pet Expo, trying to adopt a dog.
That was pretty unique. Or was that commonplace?
I mean, now looking back, because I wasn't savvy to like TV life, but after looking back, I think the guy just wanted to get a dog from the TV show. That's what it felt like. I just had a gut feeling that's what that was.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess in a good way it didn't work out, but I mean.
Yeah, the thing is that we got a lot of applications on Creature.
Right.
And they all felt, not all, but I would say most of them felt like it was because of the TV show affiliation. Mm-hmm. So that's why when we got the one application from who would soon be his adopter, it felt normal. And here's what did it for us. And if I remember correctly, he even said, if Creature's not the right dog for me, I'm open to any other dog. And I'm like, okay, you know what? That says a lot to me.
Yeah, we'll talk about him. He comes around next season. He comes around season 3. This was also Creature's failed meet and greet at the OC Pet Expo. Yeah. Also, you remember Jake brought Creature to Hogs for Dogs.
Yeah.
Remember that event?
God, yeah.
Hogs for Dogs, which was basically, like a motorcycle event / dog thing or whatever. So it was a very similar thing. And there was a family there that met Creature.
We have people meet Creature.
Yes. We'll see.
We're the Reese family. We came out today for Hogs for Dogs, and we've been just looking for dogs that we could possibly adopt.
And you had a meet and greet with that home check. You did all the way to home check, and they had a very low wall, low fence.
From the outside of her yard, the wall is high. But when you get inside the yard, the dirt is raised up about 3 feet. So now, the wall becomes like 2 feet tall.
Yeah, this was the retaining wall. It wasn't even like a regular fence. And so there was no way that was going to work out.
Yeah.
Nice family.
This was great family, very nice. Yeah. But again, this was also a first for us because this was the first failed adoption.
Oh wow! Okay.
On the show, and that was the thing that we always struggled with on the show was having an adoption fail at the end was good. We felt like it was an interesting story for us, but having an adoption fail at the beginning, where it was like a just failed meet and greet, we're like, well, we don't really want to use this. It's not really great.
Yeah.
It's
but it's all real though.
It's all real, and we wound up figuring it out, and that was the thing. I mean, and that was one of the things that I think we fought for the creature adoption because we said no. This is what's going to happen is people are going to see that creature had 2 strikes against him, 2 fails.
Right.
And he became an actual underdog.
Right.
And so why not? And that's what happened. You got tons of adoptions. I mean, I remember in an future episode, we will talk about you and Louise and Jake going through stacks of adoption applications, which is kind of interesting. So, I mean, obviously in this episode, we have our standout storylines. We've talked about all of them. Creature, the Ruby Red Slippers rescue, and then Parolee Billy stepping up, slipping up, falling down, getting up. Right. What was the standout for you?
I think Ruby Red Slippers especially because you had to have been there. Like you had to have met her to see how she was. She was so sweet. She was so afraid of the world, behind closed doors kind of thing. She was just like so timid and obviously very, very traumatized. Yeah. So she definitely, definitely got to me.
I'm gonna have to give it to Creature. Creature, became such a, that became also a first for us in that, there were many stories, and as the show grew in length and we kept going season to season and things like that it allowed the show to continue stories from previous seasons. I mean, I think, for me, famously, the most recurring story that we did with dogs was Cheech and Chong. I mean, 2 dogs that sort of we saw their trajectory and their rise and their, like so many of their ups and downs, only on a show like this that we went so many seasons and it was real.
Yeah.
Were we able to sort of continue to track stories, which was kind of cool. So, the other thing that happened on the show, so America's Pet Expo, Pet Expos, you don't go to those anymore. It used to be a regular thing for you, right?
Oh my God, we loved them. They were so much fun. They were fun prior to having a TV show.
Oh.
Because before I had a TV show, people actually would come up to our booth to ask about the dogs.
Sure.
And then after the TV show, it just became obvious, like a fan fest, like that nobody, like I remember when we filmed that one, they were like shoving our table, like people, it was like, 4 or 5 people deep and nobody cared about the dogs at all. Nobody like really, they'd say, oh yeah, they're cute, but it was one of those things where, wow, I didn't think this through, when I got a TV show. And I remember at one point, which we didn't show, I don't think we filmed it. I became so overwhelmed so behind our booth are curtains, they just like a backdrop. And at one point I became so overwhelmed that I went behind the curtain and just stood there and like tried to keep from crying. I couldn't even go to the bathroom without having people escort me because people were getting very
handsy.
They would grab my shirt. They were, trying to get my attention. And I was just like, wow, this was very overwhelming. This was not fun, And at that point I realized, I don't think I'm like, I'm not made for this. They're like for instance, and this is nothing, well, Jackson Galaxy from Captain Hell, another Animal Planet personality. We had a very interesting talk when he filmed with us. And we were talking about this topic. And he goes, you don't like getting out there with everybody and talking to the fans? I said, it's not that I don't like it. I feel it's a very uncomfortable feeling for me. It's just, I feel very smothered, and then I retreat, and I start having panic attacks. And he's like, wow. Cause he said, he loves it. He loves going out there. And which I'm like, more power to you, dude, because I've now realized that I can't do this. This is very difficult for me.
Right.
But when I would get on the stage and do my meet and greets, I felt very comfortable. Maybe because I felt somewhat protected, being up on the stage.
There's a distance.
Yeah. And in talking to a crowd, it was almost like they all had like invisible faces, whereas opposed to like people coming at me, and I was like, ah. So that's something that I don't share a lot in the public, is that I'm actually very uncomfortable and I feel very awkward being amongst our viewers and our fans, because it's just it's like scary to me.
Well, I mean, going back to the beginning of the conversation, I mean, that's one of the things that we would tell, like the thing that people need to understand was, we always referred to this as you made a grand bargain with 44 Blue and Animal Planet, in that you didn't want to be on TV, but you needed to be on TV for the good of the dogs. And so you were a reluctant participant for the good of the dogs, for the good of your rescue, because without it, it was.
I mean, I turned down so many appearances through Discovery. Right. They'd say, why won't you? They would want me to go like all these different talk shows. And I was like, no, and I think Ellen, I think that's the only one I went on.
Only Ellen. Yeah. And then you would do them, but it was very much like this. You would go to a studio and it was talking to a camera. Yeah. Someone's on the other side, but that's it. Not in an audience. None of that. Yeah. But So
it was, so it was a very, that pet expo was the first one we did after our show launched. And it freaked me out.
It was eye-opening. Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
And the thing is funny, because at the time, I mean, we were in the middle of making season 2, which season 1 had just aired. And it was only 6 episodes. So it was very much a drop in the water, so to speak. Yeah. So, the fact that you were getting so much of a reaction, I mean, obviously you're in a dog-friendly, environment, so people that are there are pet lovers. So watching Animal Planet and whatever. So,
Well, especially for the pit bull world, because for so many years and decades as a pit bull enthusiast, we were so used to getting shunned. We were
there was nobody to worry. Right. There was nobody there.
Yeah. And so when Animal Planet allowed us to make this show and portray the dog in such a positive light, it was what the pit bull group was like starving for. Which I understand. I totally understand. But I just didn't expect it. I didn't know how to react. I didn't know how to handle it. So it became very overwhelming for me, like really, which is why I eventually moved where I live now, which is in a very remote area, where hardly anybody's up here. And, anybody who comes here from the outside, the locals will go like, hey, who are you? Like, we know everybody up here.
Right.
So
sure.
I feel somewhat protected up here.
Right. Well, okay. So that brings us to the time machine moment for this episode. So what would you, if anything, do differently from this time?
Told not to give Billy your jacket.
Well, I wouldn't have been able to film the scene that we were the part of the episode. So no, but actually, I really liked that jacket. I remember that jacket.
You didn't say anything to him when he came in with your jacket?
I know I did.
And he didn't give it to you?
No. Well, I wouldn't. At that point, I wouldn't want it.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. Wow.
So anyway, all right. Well, that brings us to the end of another episode of Pitbulls, Parolees, and a Producer. We have more. We're in the dead smack right in the middle of season 2. We have a couple of very crazy episodes coming soon. Some of them probably the crazier things that happened to you and the family over the course of your lives. We have the big fire coming your way, right on the sort of on the horizon, so to speak. So stick with us. Tune in some more. We have more episodes coming your way. Also, more interesting podcasts, more different stuff coming your way on Rabid Reality. So therabidreality.com or myrabidreality.com. Both get you exactly where you need to go. So Tia, thanks for playing along, joining in. I will see you soon. Thanks, everybody.
Toodaloo.